Hello, I'm back after a little hiatus. It's time I reintroduce myself. For those who are new here, I'm Tarra Lu. I'm a mother, an artist, and a life coach. There have been some major upgrades in my life recently. I'm talking about a new haircut, new audio setup, updated website, and most importantly, a renewed mindset. Speaking of website, make sure to visit my website after this video because I now have resources for artists such as a free workbook and a YouTube starter kit for creative women, which I will talk more about later. I'm also offering coaching sessions for creative women of faith who are ready to step into their calling. So make sure to click the link in the description below. Where do I begin? So it took me a while to get back to creating videos because I really had to understand what it means to sit with God. And I learned when you finally surrender to God, it's like the universe opens up and miracles start happening left and right. And it first started when I intentionally started changing my perceptions and allowing God to pour into me daily. That meant journaling every day, meditating, investing in my own healing, releasing old stories, and learning how to govern myself. Going through this transformation also meant cutting my hair, and I feel free. But let's rewind a bit. Back in December, I went through a dark night of the soul. I hit rock bottom. I'm talking rock bottom like I haven't experienced in years. I didn't tell anyone the degree of how bad it was. It was so bad that I didn't know how I was going to cover my financial responsibilities. I felt so defeated. And I remember talking to my sister and telling her that maybe it's time for me to quit because I couldn't see a way out of my financial circumstances. And I was mentally exhausted. My prayers were the same every day, asking for the same thing over and over again. And things just seemed like it was getting worse. And now that I'm a mother, I started feeling like chasing this dream of being an artist was irresponsible. I told my sister that this lifestyle is not stable. I'm constantly dealing with anxiety. On top of that, I'm navigating a whole set of new responsibilities. There's so much that I'm learning about the business side of art, and sometimes it feels overwhelming going through all of this information and trying to figure out what system works for me. And honestly, some of these programs aren't good for women, let alone moms. I don't even have enough time to work on my craft anymore. And in that moment, I felt like God set me on a dummy mission. I didn't know where to turn. In my mind, it was over. So here I am explaining all of this to my sister, crying and saying, what the F? I've invested so much into this, but it's not working. She started crying and said, but you've worked so hard. This has been your dream. You've always felt that being an artist was your calling. And then she was like, there has to be a way. And she was right. So right when I was just about to make up my mind and quit, I made a sale out of nowhere that covered my financial responsibilities. In fact, my bank account was showing numbers that had me wondering if the bank made a mistake because the math wasn't mathing, but it was mathing in my favor. And in that moment, I knew exactly what shifted within me that changed my situation around. I forgot the power in knowing that God moves suddenly, and I forgot to take the limits off of God. I quickly realized I needed a paradigm shift because there was something that I wasn't seeing clearly, And there was something in my mind and belief system that needed to change. So the night before this sales happened, I got real with God. I said, listen, my back is up against the wall and I need a lifeline now. I put God to the test because something in me knew that if this was truly my calling, then the provision was already there. I had to get out of that feeling of unworthiness and fear. That meant feeling safe and secure in my body no matter what. I said, wait a minute. Why am I using my current circumstances to determine if I should quit on what I was called to do? How many times have we disqualified ourselves before the game even started? A lot of times we feel like something isn't working. Well, what is happening is that it's working on you. When I felt called to be an artist, I didn't know what that would look like, but I said yes, even though my trust and my faith in God was still shaky. I didn't feel worthy. And at that time, I didn't even have the understanding, the knowledge, or the wisdom to completely understand what it means to rest in God and let God lead. And one of the things that caused me to take this long break from YouTube is because I needed to come correct and fully step into my calling and stop being scared of how I would be perceived. I'm meant to minister through art, and that scares me. But I had to remember that God is bigger than that. It was a deep moment of self-reflection because I was letting feelings of unworthiness guide me. I had to be honest with myself and admit that I was self-sabotaging because I felt like I wasn't worthy of the calling. And I was using the tough times to validate this feeling that was rooted in trauma and false illusions. A lot of times, God instructed me to do something, and my sponsoring thought was, okay, this is too big for me. I don't have the credentials for this. There's people out there already doing what you're telling me to do, and they're dominating. So why do you want me out here like this? And that's the problem with not understanding the power of your seeds. We get all caught up in what other people are doing and start comparing ourselves and think, okay, well, they have a large audience. They have the social proof. They have the numbers. They have the resources. They this, they that, they. Meanwhile, all God is asking you to do is to cultivate your own seed. We don't eat the seed, we eat the fruit. But the only way the seed becomes useful is when it moves into fruition. You have to plant it. You have to water it. And wait. It has to take root before it sprouts. I had to stop making this about me and uproot the part of me that was holding me back. I had to remove the layers of a broken identity rooted in low self-evaluation. Our biggest battle is against ourselves. One of the things that God wanted me to do in this current season is put more of my focus on writing. Now, I don't consider myself a writer, but writing has always been one of my top strengths. And I know that my new assignment is to lean more on my teaching skills to create ebooks, guides, journals, and workbooks for creative women, especially women of faith. So during my hiatus, I created an ebook and workbook called Glow Authentically, the Essential YouTube Starter Pack for Creative Women. You can find the link in the description below, where I walk you through the steps of how to start your YouTube channel while being true to yourself and allowing your tribe to discover you. I also share the equipment and gears I use and share how I managed to create content with a baby, because I know I'm not the only one that God is calling into this space. And when I asked God, well, why YouTube? The answer was because this is the modern way of documenting the time. We are the modern day scribes, and video format is how our descendants are going to get information from us to understand our current time. If you think about it, we're not only artists, but we're also historians. If you take into consideration different ancient artifacts and artwork, it was usually artists who were documenting the times. They were considered the historians of their time. And so it made complete sense to me why God wanted me to be on YouTube and why God needs his creatives, especially women, on this platform. With what's going on in the world right now, God is calling on creatives from all over to step into their power and to know that they are worthy, and to know that they are worthy of their calling. Some of us have to leave certain people behind. Some of us have to stop expecting support from the people around us and allow God to place new people in our lives. You don't need approval or validation from anyone. You don't need to have fancy degrees and titles, because what is happening is that God is going to place some of us in rooms, in situations that we can never imagine. And people are going to ask us, well, how did you get there? And your response is going to be like, I don't know, ask God. And when you say yes to your calling, one of the first things you have to understand is that you are worthy of the calling, no matter how impossible it may seem. It hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies for me. There have been moments when I've questioned myself, questioned my worthiness, questioned whether I'm truly capable of fulfilling my calling. There are days when I feel like no one understands. But the thing is, we're not alone. God is with us with every step of the way, guiding us, empowering us, reminding us of our worthiness. Every time those doubts creep in, I remind myself that I am part of something bigger than myself, something divine and beautiful. There's power in knowing who you are. There's power in embracing your true nature and understanding the seed that God has placed within you. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So I needed to take this time to not only fortify myself, but to also know and understand that I am worthy of the call. You are worthy of your call. And it may seem like what we're doing is not significant, but it is. We are in a time where people are craving beauty. They're looking for something soulful, beautiful paintings, music, films, stories to uplift them and make them feel again. There's a lot of people who are numb right now, and it's always been creatives who were there to uplift society. What we are doing is worthy. What you are doing is worthy. And it's time for us to let go of these false illusions that we not only have about ourselves, but about what it means to be an artist. We have to remove certain words from our vocabulary and adapt new language and new ways of thinking. We can't keep hiding from bullies and trolls and let their poor behavior dictate if we're showing up or not. Take what is yours. Take what is yours, and don't let anyone tell you what you deserve. We have to work on our own character and develop ourselves to build something of value that the world needs. So own your truth, live with integrity, and step into your power with confidence and grace, because you are worthy of your calling.